Hello, and welcome to this episode of The Inner Estate with your host, Bridget Stewart, and our special guest today, Amanda Elhassan of the AEG real estate team in the Tri-Valley area in California. Amanda, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I'm excited to be here to have you here as well and to be here. But I'm excited because you and I have the same chosen industry. We're both in real estate and we are both in leadership in our own companies. So I just know that there's going to be a lot of incredible things we can discuss today.
Yeah.
So Amanda, when you think about yourself as the founder, the owner, CEO of AEG, and you think about being this professional full-time woman in real estate, what are you passionate about? Like, share with everyone what it means to you and what you'd like to share.
Thank you for the kind introduction. I am so passionate right now. Like, if I were to say what I'm passionate right now in this moment, because I'm passionate about a lot of things.
Right.
I'm so passionate about my team that I've built, my real estate team. I have a team, it's an all women's team, and I have a team of women that are just wonderful, driven women. I'm grateful to be in business with them. They are eager to learn from me, and it's just a great group. I'm very passionate about the portfolio my husband and I have built because I realize that I cannot physically just the rest of my life transaction, paycheck, transaction, paycheck. I
Right.
have to invest. I want to invest. I watch other people invest. I help other people invest. So I started doing it myself, which I think a lot of realtors get into, but I've really
Yes.
gone, in a big direction with it. And so right now, truly, that is what I'm passionate about. Building up how many doors my husband and I own, building up this team. And those are the two things that really have me just waking up every
On
day.
fire.
Yeah, let's go.
Yes, yes. So it is interesting to me that you discovered that bug of investing in real estate and building your own portfolio. I believe from our conversation that you're also spreading that ability amongst your clients and your inner circle and the people that know you that also want to enhance and build their wealth through real estate. Could you tell us a little bit more of how you're doing that?
Yeah. So, I mean, for me, I'm one of those people that I I'm competitive within myself and I have to look and market shift, right? But there's people always buying and selling, no matter what market
Correct.
we're in. So for me, I've always stepped back and said, who is buying and selling? So for an example, when interest rates were 2% and you could stick a sign out in your yard and be pending in an hour with multiple offers, wasn't going after listings because everyone was. I went after
Mhm.
buyers and how we write competitive offers. When interest rates shot up, I'm like, who doesn't care about interest rates? Investors.
That's right.
Investors don't
That's
care about
right. Yeah.
interest rates. So I started working with investors and really found my passion in that. And so I work with investors from all realms, whether that's buy and flip, whether that's buy and hold, whether it's buying multi-units, whether it's buying something that's they're going to live in, that maybe they can put some sweat equity in that's going to give them the best equity. Like, is this home going to be better for my equity in the next 2 years to get to my dream home, or is this home going to get me there faster? So I really look at things from a numbers perspective. I've always loved math. There's no right or wrong
Good.
math.
Yes.
There's a right and wrong answer in math, right? So
That's right.
love them. And
Right.
so I fell into it, but by analyzing all these deals and helping just regular clients, I realized that I can do it myself. And I think that that's where people really get discouraged from investing because they think it's harder than it is, or you have to put so much down, or you have to do that. And there's so many ways to break into investing,
Correct.
you know, pulling out a line of credit against your primary residence to purchase the next property, seller financing. So there's a lot of ways that people can break into it. And I've just went into that. So with that, this is kind of long-winded. I started getting, can I pick your brain? Can I pick your brain all the time? I couldn't go a day without someone dropping into my inbox. Can I pick your brain? And that's when I decided to start a team. So the team kind of fell hand in hand with me discovering investing.
Excellent. Okay. And then that allowed you to have some leverage and I'm assuming creating success through others, and allowed you to build what you're building with your own portfolio and still have time and energy left for regular production.
Right. So of course I
Okay.
still work with families. I still work with sellers. My team and they still work with, everyday buyers and sellers. We're in
Hmm.
a very residential, a suburban neighborhood. We're, in the Tri-Valley East Bay area. And so the team has their clients. They've learned a lot about investing. Breaking into investing, I think, is nerve-wracking. I think, a lot of agents who look like me think they're up against these guys doing commercial real estate, and it's not.
Yeah.
It's about finding the deals. And not every investor is some guy who shows up in a Porsche and has all
Right.
these money. It's people, normal people, everyday
It's
people
normal
who are
people.
investing.
That's exactly right. You just made me think of the millionaire next door. Oftentimes they are in, I believe it's a Ford 50. If you
Yes.
look at the most registrations of vehicles with high net worth individuals, it's a Ford, and I think it's the F-50.
That's
Right? So like
fascinating. Yeah.
oftentimes your
Yes.
multimillionaire mega investor is showing up in Levi's, a t-shirt,
Yep.
in a Ford truck. So
Yes,
that's
I'm telling you, I grew up in Silicon Valley, and out here, someone wearing Birkenstocks and board shorts can be a billionaire. You just don't know.
correct. You don't
Yeah.
know. That's right. Yes. It's funny. I hadn't thought about that in a while.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
that book came out a long time ago, but I always check that around every other year. I check just out of curiosity. What is that best-selling car amongst high net worth individuals?
Yeah, that's fascinating.
So
That's fascinating.
yeah, it really is.
I mean, I knew
Maybe
it was a normal car, but
we didn't know it was
yeah.
that normal, right?
Is it a
Maybe you
Honda?
and
Is
I
it a
need to go
Ford?
out and get like a Ford F-150. Maybe the magic is in the
Yeah.
vehicle and we can,
Yep. Yeah.
get
Right? Or a
um
Prius or something. I don't know.
yeah. So back to you for a minute. So
Yes.
you got when you first got into real estate, you got into it. It sounds like in a more traditional manner of you were going to focus on building your listing division and your buyers division, and you were going to
Yeah.
have predominantly residential resale,
Yeah.
maybe some new construction, but
Yeah.
with an emphasis on residential. Is that correct?
Correct. Correct. I always wanted to go into residential.
Now, what did you do before you got into real
Well, it's
estate?
funny, that's how I actually got into real estate, and I actually got into real estate on a whim. So I was a hairstylist before I got
Okay.
into real estate, and I did hair for 12 years and owned hair salons.
Hmm.
I think something about me, I naturally progressed into the leadership role. So
Right.
I owned multiple hair salons. I had to have surgery, and the recovery time was a few weeks, and my job's so physical. And I had this moment where I was having a pity party, and this was back in the day. Do you remember Craigslist when,
Yes,
you
I
had to
do.
look
Of
okay.
course. Yes.
I'm
Yeah.
sitting all depressed and I'm like, my job's physical. What if, like, something else happened to me and I couldn't work anymore? Like, I'm not getting paid if I'm not working.
Hmm.
And so
Hmm.
I pulled up Craigslist and there was an ad, no experience needed. We'll train you. Of course, Keller Williams, which I'm still with Keller Williams. They've
Right.
given me a lot in my career. And,
Right.
I'm going into my 11th year in real estate. And so I did. I was like, you know what? Both my grandparents were realtors, and I'll go
Yeah.
ahead and I'll get my real estate license. And of course, by that time I was back in the salon, but I said, I did this. I'm going to do it. And I sold 17 homes my first year in real estate.
That's
And
excellent.
so I found, I was like, wow. And then I'll never forget the first set of keys I handed over. It
Oh,
was like
yeah.
turning someone around in the chair to show them their hair, but on steroids. And I'm like, I got to
Yes.
do this again.
Right.
So I kept doing it.
That's
And
really
eventually,
good.
yeah, and eventually I ended up stepping down from physically doing hair and kept my salons. And then during the pandemic, when everything changed in the hair salon, my business partner, I ended up leaving the hair salons to my business partner. I owned them with a
Hmm.
colleague and just full time pursued real estate. So that's kind
Good
of my
time to
path.
do it.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And now I'll
I don't
never
know
go
if that
back.
was luck or brilliant strategy, but it
Yeah,
was really good
yeah,
that
yeah,
you made that
yeah,
choice at that
yeah.
time.
Yeah. Well, what's funny is that you say that is that so pandemic happened. I found out I was pregnant with my first daughter the week before the shutdown. So when everyone in the world was having their best years in real estate in 2021, 2022, I actually was at home
Yes.
having babies. Those were my two worst years, 2021 and 2022. If you look at oh, you can't see them on my desk, my awards. I have
Yeah.
awards and it's missing 2021 and 2022.
Aw.
My two worst years, but I have awards for every
Well,
other year. Yeah. So,
and looking at it from a different perspective, two of your best years
yeah, well, yes,
overall
yeah,
in
yeah,
life.
yeah. 2 of my worst years in my career, 2 of my best years in my
Best in
personal
your
life.
life, right? So, and how many children do you have?
I have 2. I have 2 girls. They are 14 months apart to the day. They're both born on the
Nice.
19th.
Okay.
And it's the best. It's so funny because, transitioning a little bit away from real estate talk, everyone told me when I got pregnant, because I'm go, 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 and I've always
Hmm.
been a workaholic. They said, "Amanda, they're your kids, it's gonna slow you down. You can't do everything you wanna do." And it has ignited a fire in me. I
Yes.
have doubled, tripled, even quadrupled my production since I
Yes.
have them. It makes me wanna work harder for them. I wanna do more things with them. I wanna make sure they're set for life. I want to if they wanna go to any college, I don't wanna blink an eye about being able to help them if
Correct.
that's what they wanna do. And it's pushed me further than I could have ever even imagined.
Well, it's funny that you bring that up because for someone like you, that it does sound like you have a very entrepreneurial streak. It sounds like you're very independent, probably a little bit of a maverick, and very much in leadership. So, not a lone wolf. It does sound like you understand that power of others and leverage and leadership.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, you're not even my first guest on this podcast that has said the same thing. And it sounds to me like you wanted to build this generational wealth and opportunity for your children. So now I'm going to take a wild guess. You're probably very efficient when you're at work. When you're at
Oh.
work, you're probably like, it's on.
Oh my gosh. I it blows my mind at what I can get done in a short amount of time, but I have to be
Hmm.
focused. So like for right now, I'm in my home office because if I go into my office with my team, I get too distracted and I'm talking and I'm helping them. I on Mondays actually work from home because
Hmm.
I need to get everything done for the week, all my paperwork, my follow-ups, and weekends in real estate are very important times and
Correct.
follow up,
Yes.
clients who went to open houses or any show, whatever, any of my listings that were reviewing offers or reaching out to anyone who's requested disclosures. So I work from home on Mondays because I can hammer everything I need out. And then throughout the rest of the week, I can schedule little, 2-hour pockets where I'm at my desk where I can get done what I need to get done.
Right.
Yep.
But it's incredible. I mean, focus you're able I'll say as a parent, when you know that so much is on the line,
Yes,
you will keep that focus just like,
I have
this
to.
this is happening now and I'm making it happen now.
Yeah, and in addition to running a team, running my portfolio, my clients, having 2 kids, a husband, and a household to take care of, I'm also this kid's room mom, so I volunteer
Mhm.
once a month, and so I'm more productive when I'm busy. So, when
Yes.
I'm slower, I'm like, "Oh, I can take a break."
Yeah.
So when I'm busier, and it's actually interesting, every year I've been in real estate, I do my best in Q4, which most people
Yes.
wind down. I'm like, We got Christmas, we got
That's
Thanksgiving, we
right.
got birthdays." One of my daughter's birthdays in November and one's in January. So we're just like,
Mhm.
after Halloween, it's like, go. And so I always do the best in Q4 every year. And so I
Yeah.
function better like that.
And
Yeah.
what's funny? Most high producing real estate agents, regardless of market, there's a few outliers like in extreme resort markets like Sun Valley, Idaho, is something
Yeah.
that might be
Yeah.
extreme. But across the board, the most consistent growth oriented agents will have their best quarter in the second quarter and the fourth quarter.
Yep.
And it's almost hands down. And they start the year off strong because the fourth quarter was so strong.
So my
So they're
Januaries
starting
are
the year
always
off with,
strong, and then I mean,
that's
not
right.
this year, I feel like the market's kind of picking up, but my Januaries are always strong, and then but it's building, and then I start prepping all the listings, for Q2, and so
That's
it's
correct. Yeah.
yes, it's I definitely have flows in. I mean, it's consistent now, but I definitely have flows where it's busier, stronger, or maybe I'm just prepping more for that, so definitely.
Well, the thing that's interesting to me, Amanda, is that it sounds like you have created a life by design.
Yes.
And so even if you have some natural flow, or maybe you do like, I won't say take your foot off the pedal, but maybe you pause to do some foundational work in your systems, say like in February. That might be a system you've created by design.
Yeah.
So you have all of your fourth quarter preparation, second quarter, and it's so how great is that?
Yeah, I mean,
Being
for
your own
me
business owner, building semi passive and active income That's
Yeah.
got to feel great that you
It
have
feels
that level
great,
of
and for
control.
me, it's more about whether what's that saying? You fill the space allotted or whatever, like, if you have 3 hours to do something, you're gonna take 3 hours. If you have 1 hour to do something.
Yeah, work will fill the space
Yeah,
allowed.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Mhm.
So, I'm had to really realize how to manage, like, my daily life, and I don't know if I mentioned this too on this call yet, but we also own out-of-state Airbnbs that I
That's right,
personally.
yes. I was gonna ask about that because
Yes,
you
and
manage out-of-state Airbnbs. Yes.
yes, yes, we can get to that after the daily.
Yeah.
I manage them because, as you know, property managers for just a regular property, it's minimal what they take, but for
Right.
short-term rentals, because
Oh,
they're checking somebody in and out almost every week, they take
correct.
a
It's
huge
expensive.
amount. It's
Yes.
very expensive, which is basically your profit after your mortgage. So we'll jump to that, but what I really had to manage was my daily life, right? My daily life. I have 2 kids. I have a very supportive husband, but I have a husband he's a project manager for a construction company, and he leaves for work at 4:30 in the morning.
Right.
I every morning, and so my clients know. I'm like, unless it's an emergency, don't 10 a.m. Okay, because I wake up every morning, get my kids breakfast, dressed, lunch is made, drop them off for school, and then I come back and then I have a moment where I eat my breakfast in silence, get
Right.
ready for my day. But my husband every day does pickup. So I'm able to work, show my clients, and I'm home by dinner time. So we have a system that works for us. I've leveraged, I have someone who comes over and does our laundry twice a week.
Yeah.
you know,
Yes.
we have a gardener, we have a house cleaner. I've leveraged the things that are not my hourly rate is more than what it costs to
Correct.
hire someone to do those tasks. So it makes sense. It's financially smarter and makes my life easier and flow better.
Well, if I could add in, not only is it financially smarter, usually the people that do that as their specialty will do it better than
Yeah,
you,
yeah,
more
yeah,
efficiently than you.
yeah.
Let them do it, right? So, I mean,
You should see my closet. It's color coded. It's like,
yeah, yes. So that's creating, and it's funny because when I hear someone say that, I know that ultimately your family benefits and your clients benefit
yeah,
because you're allowing yourself to have some white space in your mind, right?
yes.
You're able to actually breathe and then show up in a more powerful way as the PTA room mother.
Yeah, yeah. I got involved in that on an
And
accident, by the way, but
yeah,
so did I in real estate, and here we
uh,
are.
yeah, and with your clients and when your sellers are going through a stressful time or a time where they're having difficulty making a decision, you're able to be there fully listening, engaged, and present. And so everyone benefits. And frankly,
Yep,
the people that you hire is leverage, they benefit.
yep.
So it's something that is anyone listening to this, if you are a business person and you are doing all these things, managing your Airbnbs, you've got doors that are regular rentals, you've got a team, you have a relationship and your children and you're active in their education, get leverage for your home. Okay.
Yes. Yes. Get a house manager if needed. I mean, it's impossible to keep up. And with the birthday parties and soccer practice and
Yeah.
this, it's you can't do it all. And that was a
Correct.
really big personal thing that I had to work on because I will not ask for help to the point where I'm
Yeah.
dying. And
Right.
I'm like, I can do it, I can do it, I can do it. And you can't do it all.
Yeah.
You cannot take care of your body, work out, have a job, take care of your clients, be there for your kids, have a relationship with your husband, be a good friend, be a mentor, invest, manage. Something's got to give at some point. So
Correct.
really sitting down and figuring what it is. And I'll be honest, before I hired that help, my family was the one suffering. My husband came to me at one point
Yep.
and said, I feel like a single dad.
Yeah.
And it rocked me. So, I feel you have to face it, right? And I didn't want my career to struggle because of it either. I firmly believe that women can be a mom and have a career. And so
Yes.
I didn't want that to change either.
Right.
So I knew I had to get some help and I had to figure out where, but I also knew that I had to come home and shut off my computer for a couple hours, be home at dinner time, be with my kids, eat dinner, get help with bedtime, bath time. And then if I want to jump back on my computer, I can. But I noticed that I was being the most short with them and getting snappy when I was trying to get work done while they were around, which is not fair to a
Right.
4 and 5-year-old.
No, no. Like, and frankly, it's not even fair to your future self. What,
Totally.
like, you don't want to look back and be like, ugh.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'll
Yeah.
share a news flash because I'm
Yes.
older than you. You're going to have sometimes, regardless of the good choices you're making, where you kind of reflect back and you're like, I don't even know if I like that version of myself back then, so that's going to happen anyway, even
It's
when we're playing all in and we are making the best choices we can make in the moment. But you're right. Not only is that not fair to the 4 and 5-year-old, it's not fair to you in the future when you're
yeah.
looking back at like what you did.
It's so funny that you say that and that I like we were like talking about like the energy you put out, you bring because
Right.
I was that you just mentioned that and I'm on this call with you today because I was thinking about that this morning. I had this moment where I was picking up my youngest daughter asked me if I could carry her out from bed to the breakfast table this
Uh-huh.
morning. So of course, I won't be able to do that soon. She'll just be too big and
That's
I'm
right.
only
Yes.
5 feet tall. So they're going to be taller than me really soon. I was carrying her out and I thought to myself, when I first had them, and they were younger, so I was able to get away with it because I don't think they realize now they know when mommy's not home. I still thought that I had to go to like all these networking things, which a lot of realtors think they do. And I was going out and this was leads back to my husband saying he was a single dad. And
Right.
maybe honestly, 3 times a week, I was at something in the evening. And, like last night, there was something that my brokerage was doing. A bunch of ladies were getting together. And I said, you know what? No, because I'm going on a business trip next week and I need to pick and choose when I'm going to be gone. But I had this moment this morning where I said, this is so interesting because old me was half asleep through the morning routine because I was so tired from what I
Right.
was
Right.
doing. But I was so present this morning. I woke up and I'm like, all right, girls, rise and shine, and was like dancing and making their breakfast. And it's like you said, looking back at the version. And I didn't realize that version of myself wasn't good because I was like, I'm so successful. I'm invited to all these
That's
networks,
right.
but I wasn't
Yes.
exhausted,
Yeah.
you know?
So
So
you can already relate.
yes. So yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
So absolutely.
So with the business trip next week, and I have
Yes.
faced this because I've been in real estate now since November 1998,
Okay.
and I took my first real estate business trip in February 1999, and I've been on at least 4 per year ever since.
Yep.
Usually it's more, frankly.
Yep.
So someone might be listening to us right now and they might think, why is a realtor going on a business trip? Where, because
Aren't
you
we
didn't
supposed to
tell
still?
me, but I think I have a feeling I might know where you're going. Where are you going on a business trip next week?
I'm going to Keller Williams family reunion.
Excellent. Yes.
Yep, which is in Atlanta this year. They change every year. And what family reunion is, it's like, is there any Bravo fans on here? Real Housewife fans? You know how there's Bravo Con every year? That's
Right.
it's the real estate. It's a big conference. They bring in guest speakers.
Hmm.
There's different breakout rooms. You can learn about social media. You can learn about investing. You can learn about
Right.
building a team. You can learn about
Leadership.
yes,
Yes.
all sorts of
Right.
stuff, and it's just great, and not only that, you meet agents across the country, and I know
And the
normally
world.
most yes, and the world,
Yeah.
and I know
Yep.
normally most people are moving out of California, not in, but it's a
Right.
great way that if I have someone who's moving out of California, and let's say they wanna move to Tennessee, and I
Yes.
connect with a great agent, and I mean in Tennessee, I have a personal reference rather than just picking up the phone and calling and saying, "Who's good out there?" So and vice
That's
versa,
right.
and so and just to meet and when you're in a room with people who are willing because the company doesn't pay for these
Correct.
events, you go and you pay. The
You
tickets
do.
the flights are expensive, hotel room, meals, all of that. But when you are sitting around a room full of people that are investing in themselves and their business in that way, it's just an elevated conversation. I always come back so grateful, not just from what I learned by the speakers, but from what I've learned by the conversations with the people I meet.
Yes. So
Yeah.
it is, and I wanted to explore that because I don't know if people understand the value of that. And
Yeah.
if you are hiring a realtor, I would encourage you to ask, What do you do for your personal education and building your network of colleagues across the country?
Right.
Find out if they're taking business trips and investing in themselves and staying cutting edge and really digging deep. Can you do it if you stay local? Yes. Is it going to be the same? No. And
Right.
that's
I
why,
mean,
for how long ago was 1998?
there
27 years, right?
yeah,
So
I
for
mean, I was born in
27
'87.
years, I've gone on at least 4, and 4 is on the low end.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest, I remember the first time I was invited to a conference for a group of individuals who only you have to sell over 50 million a year in production to even be invited. And
Mhm.
I do, and so I was invited on that trip, and I remember being in the room, and I remember thinking, because 'cause I'm in the top 5% in my, region. I
Right.
I remember thinking, like, I'm, a big dog, and
Yeah,
I'm
that's
in
right.
this. Yeah, and I'm like, because 'cause I'm proud of what I do. I do a great level of production,
Right.
and I'm proud of it.
Yeah.
I've come a long way to get here. I was in rooms with people who do what I do in a year and a month, and it
Correct.
blew my and they're just totally normal people,
Regular
and
people, that's right.
yeah, yeah, they're not like
Yeah.
some crazy. I mean, aren't we all a little crazy? But it's, and when you're around people like that, it makes my dream. I'm not saying I want to do what I do in a year every month because that
Right.
I think I'd be very tired, but I it makes if my goal this year is to double it, or let's say even increase it by 25%, makes it seem reasonable. And when you're around people
Yes.
who this is their norm and you watch the way they carry themselves through life, their careers, in their marriage. I mean, I'll never forget being on another podcast and we were talking about when we can schedule it. And he's like, I do a date night with my wife every single week. And he flew home early from a conference because he wouldn't miss it. It
Oh,
was a
yeah. He wouldn't miss
non-negotiable.
that date night.
So the way these people just navigate, and I find that most people who are in these rooms and in these level productions and go to these events too, they're also the most healthy, the most in
Yes.
shape. They have the
Yes.
best relationships with their friends and family. I mean, it is a different level of people.
It really
So,
is.
yeah. So
So, a
I
quick side
highly
note,
encourage.
somebody else is gonna be in Atlanta next week.
Are
So
you gonna
we
be
could grab coffee.
there?
Yes, we
Yes!
could actually be there.
I
So a little
know.
side note
Are
there.
you gonna let's do
So,
it.
yeah, we
I
will be there.
I love it. I will be there. Yeah, I can't wait. I'm very much looking forward to it.
So tell me, I do want to jump to this managing Airbnb properties are out of state
Yes.
because you are in California. I don't think this will be a news shocker to anyone, but sometimes it's not that you can't invest in real estate in California, because I believe you have with some of your longer term, I'm assuming,
Yeah,
rentals.
yeah,
However, there's a threshold of entry and a cost of ownership that makes the numbers don't always work out well,
right,
especially for short term. So it sounds
right.
like you and your husband made the decision to invest in short term rentals outside of California. Can you
Yes.
share just a little bit more about what challenges does that present? How exciting has it been? Has there been any surprise benefits? Just share a little bit more about that, if you don't mind.
Yes, absolutely. So we purposely chose outside California for a reason.
Hmm.
So
Yes. Yes.
we really wanted to start investing. My husband supports all my dreams, but he's more conservative with how we spend our money than I am.
Right. Right.
And so his only deal breaker was that he wanted to invest somewhere that we could go visit, that he wanted to visit, that he was interested in visiting. Because
Okay.
there are places that we could have bought, 3 homes for the price we've bought one.
Right.
And but are we going to get on a plane and fly there? Is it realistic? So I took a year and a half researching and looking at number one, landlord friendly states.
Yes.
I
Yes.
also looked at all the laws about short term rentals and if they approve them and if you have your license and if for whatever reason they pass a law, like think about what happened in Tahoe,
Right.
California, when they just said no more to the short term rentals. They did it in Sonoma County too. So they I wanted to make sure that if we had a short-term rental and we had it registered and licensed, if they changed the law that we would be like grandfathered in. So I did a lot of research and we found, and then we wanted to be somewhere that if there was an emergency, we could get to quick. We landed on Boise, Idaho.
Nice. Okay,
And
good.
that's where, and then Reno, Nevada.
Well, okay. All right, hold on. Because my first guess was going to be the Nevada side around Lake Tahoe. So
Yeah.
Reno's slightly further, but I was already thinking with what you were describing. So I want a
Yep.
cookie
Yeah,
because
exactly.
that was my guess is the Reno Carson City incline area in Nevada.
Exactly. So,
Yay.
Reno we can drive to. It's about 4 hours,
That's
four and a
right.
half hours. Easy, we could drive. It's a 9-hour drive, but we can get there.
But you can do
But we
it.
can
That's
also,
right.
yeah. If there was an emergency, my husband would jump in the car and he would be there,
Hmm.
in half a day. Or you could get on a plane and it's an hour and 15-minute flight from us.
Right.
So those were the two, and we also really enjoyed both those cities. So
Yes.
we started looking, investing in there. And I also did a lot of research on average occupancy rate because there
Hmm.
are a lot of markets that are landlord friendly, but they're oversaturated. So you
Correct.
you only get people that book, you're only booked about 40% of the time. One, because most people only book weekends or long weekends for
Right.
short-term rentals. But also if there's so many options, or the amount that you're going to get booked reduces. So because there's a handful of options. Both Reno and Boise had over 60% occupancy rates, which
Hmm.
is really good for a short-term rental when you think about
Yes, it
weekends.
is.
And, because think about how many days are in a month, 30, and only what, 8 of them are weekends. So even
Hmm.
that just goes to show 60% of the time you're booked on weekdays too.
Correct.
So I did that and we did some research and then we went and spent some time in those areas and we could find homes that were within our budget. Our rule, which is going to sound crazy to anyone who's listening in different parts but where different parts of the country, but where living in California, we're kind of warped on what is affordable and what isn't for us because our
Right.
price point is so high here. So our rule of thumb for investment was that all in purchasing, we wanted a home that under $500,000. So
Okay.
we needed to put 20% down and be able to furnish it so typically we're buying around the 450 price point, $450,000 because we can put 20% down and we can then furnish it. And
Furnish it.
then
Yep.
yeah. And so we can do that there. But I'm going to say when I spoke earlier about you can get into real estate in different ways. So what we did, because we didn't have just spare flying around at first, the first time we did it, the 20% down for a $450,000 home. So we actually took a HELOC, line of credit, against our
Right.
primary residence. Now,
Hmm.
to go back to investing, every home my husband and I have ever bought has been a fixer. And we've lived in it and fixed it up ourselves. So we have bought every single home that we've ever lived in. We're now in our fourth home together. We're finally in our forever home. We moved here in July.
Oh, nice. Good.
Yes. And your first home isn't always your forever home. We had to
Correct.
take steps to get here. We first were in a duplex. Then we were, so we worked our way up to here and we worked all day and would be painting walls or doing our own backsplash until
Right.
2 a.m. We worked our booties off to get
Yes.
to where we are. Our previous home, or our home that we were in when we purchased our first Airbnb, we got it a great rate. We did all the work, tore out a wall, put a beam in, had it reevaluated, had it appraised, and it was worth way more. And we took out a line of credit on it.
Hmm.
And that's what we used for the down payment on our first Airbnb in Boise. Then everything we profited from the rental, we threw down on that HELOC. So we did not put a
Perfect.
penny back into
Perfect.
our pockets until we paid off the
You
HELOC and
paid
my
the
husband's.
HELOC down.
Exactly. And my husband's bonus we put on it. And anytime I had like an extra deal that like was more than my norm, I
Right.
threw on.
Right.
We paid it
Yeah.
off in a year. And then we went strictly into profit. Now that rates have dropped down a little bit recently,
A little
we
bit.
refinanced a couple of them, which has dropped down our payments, saving us on total over, a couple $1,000s a month, which is more profit. So now
That's
we're ready for our
great.
next. There's ways that you can do it. Hardest one, the first one's always the hardest. But if you're disciplined and you really pay it down, you don't just start taking the money because it's easy to do,
Hmm.
it becomes a domino effect and it
It
becomes
does.
easier and easier. And now the profits from the other ones can pay half of my mortgage here. So we have more money to save to invest in the next one. So maybe we're not using a HELOC for the next one. It just starts to domino. It's more work managing more doors, but it does start to domino effect. The biggest leap was the first one, maybe the first
That's
two,
really exciting.
you know?
Right.
So
So how many do you have now? Are you willing to share that? Okay, so you have 4 short-term rentals outside of California.
Mhm.
And then do you have some regular residential rentals buy and hold that you have in California,
We
or do you
did, we
flip in
do not
California?
we do not anymore. The house we're in now was my forever home, and
Perfect.
we needed the equity and the money from, it is what it is in California.
It is, that's right.
And so, but we're in a, we're very fortunate. I always and my husband was very scared for our new mortgage. I won't share it, but it's very, very,
Yeah,
very high.
right.
And just our mortgage and our property taxes. And
Yes,
so,
yes.
you know, I said, listen, we're never going to be homeless. We put so much money down on this. The world stopped tomorrow and robots became realtors.
Right, right.
We'll sell one of the other properties. We'll move into one of the other. We
That's
have,
right.
but we've put ourselves in a position where my main thing in wanting to do this is I just didn't want to live, quote unquote, paycheck to paycheck. Or if my husband lost his job, what will we do?
Right,
Or if, we won't, but what if I wanted to have another kid? We don't. But you never know what life brings at you. If one of us got
right,
sick or whatever, I just never wanted us to both be so dependent on us physically having to work every
right.
day to cover everything we need or our lifestyle. So that,
Yeah.
and our girls are in private school, and that was important to me. So there were a lot of things that we have a lot of overhead. So we
Yes.
need to, diversify our our income. I guess we need to diversify our income so we have passive income so that we can do all these things.
Right. Or semi.
So
I call it semi-passive when you're
yeah,
like
yeah,
self-managing the right, but
yeah, exactly.
it's not another full-time job.
Yeah,
And there's
right.
probably times where it gets like caught up and
Yeah,
takes care of itself for a bit.
yeah.
So it's
So
really
I have
exciting.
back to that, I have systems in place. So
Mhm.
I truly do manage it from afar. We obviously have like a handyman on site and like a company that
Mhm.
I can call, but I basically use like the sledge, however you say it, I always butcher that, door handles. And I have it programmed. You can buy the advanced one and pay a membership. Whoever books the Airbnb, the last 4 digits of their phone number become their
Is the
PIN
code.
code for
That's
the
right.
time they stay. I uploaded preset templates into Airbnb, which you can do directly through Airbnb when someone books. Thank you for booking. We're so happy to host you. We will send instructions 2 days before check-in. 2 days before check-in, they get it. The day they
Boom, it
check in,
goes.
hi,
Right.
thanks for checking in. I hope everything went smoothly. Reach out. I really only get questions. And then I also found a cleaning company that they have a
Perfect.
system called Resort Cleaning that links to my Airbnb. So anytime someone books, they get a notification. And within 30 minutes, I get an email that the cleaning's scheduled for the day they check out. So I don't even have to schedule the cleanings. So, but the only time I do get questions, and this is where you're going to laugh, it's people who do not read the property description because people don't
Correct.
read well and are like, "Is there a barbecue?" And I'm like, "It says it in there. Is there a blender?" So that's truly the extent to what I deal with. And then one time someone overloaded our washing machine in one of them and broke it. So we literally, and I said, "You know what? I don't care. I'm just going to get on Home Depot, have one
Yeah, get it.
old one,
Get it
they'll deliver
delivered.
the new one. It's fine." That's par for the course in owning, short-term rentals. So they
Yeah.
really do, for the most part, function. And then we also do go twice a year to each one of them and stay in them. So we see what it is like
Nice. And you
from the
get to feel
like,
it and get the
yes,
whole experience and then
yes.
enhance or tweak what you're offering
Exactly. Like, we need new
for the
pots and
people coming.
pans. This is, I don't, this is uncomfortable.
That's
We need
right.
new pillows in this room. And we stay in them with our kids or our friends, and
Nice.
we do it twice a year and we stay in them.
That's great. That is
Hmm.
really exciting.
Yep.
If there's
Yeah.
anyone out there that is listening to us that has some Airbnbs right now and they are paying management fees, I feel like with just that rundown that you just shared with us, they could consider shifting and doing more of it on their own and increasing
Yeah.
their profitability.
Absolutely. The average short-term property management company takes 30%
Mhm.
because, I mean, you think about it, they are checking people in and out every day, but like, are they using the systems that are automized? You know what I mean? So I really,
Probably.
yeah,
They
I
might even
really,
have some that we don't even know about, that are just specifically designed for what they do. Yeah,
exactly. And so it really is manageable. I understand there's people who can't or don't want to. Totally get it,
that's right.
and maybe we'll get
That's
to a
right.
point. where we have so many and it's worth it for me to hire a person to do it rather
Correct.
than a company to do what I'm doing for, other,
That's
but
right.
other
Yeah.
than that, especially because I'm in real estate,
Well,
so
you're in
it's
the industry. That's right. Yeah.
yeah,
There's some people where it would be, you and I hear that and we're like, that sounds really manageable. Some people would be like, that sounds crazy.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
they,
exactly.
because we're used to it. But
Yeah.
it is, I do know the only reason I mention it is and I know you stay more on top of Airbnbs than I do. I use them as a consumer. I don't own any.
Yep.
But I do know there's been some pressure on some of the short-term rentals and the profit. And that's just why I mentioned, like, if you are looking at that, maybe you don't have to sell them. Maybe you just need to restructure how you're managing them and you could
So
keep them.
we do pretty well on them. Our goal, because I'll be honest, our first one we bought, the first one we bought literally when interest rates were through the roof.
Right.
And we literally our mortgage was high for what it was. We couldn't if they took away Airbnbs, if we had to put a long-term renter in there, so someone who like signs a year lease, what the average rent was in the area was less than what our
That's
mortgage.
right. Yes.
Now, because we refinanced and it's been a few years, rents have gone up. We actually would be good on all of them if
Good.
we had to put a long term. Now, we wouldn't make as much, but we're still building the equity.
That's
So
right. That's
it's,
exactly right. Yeah.
we our first one is worth over 200 grand more than it was when we bought it. So
Right.
you have that too. It all depends. And that's my thing. My goal is just to get them low enough eventually, and if I have to manage an Airbnb for, a year, the long-term rent would cover the mortgage and at least we're breaking even. We're not out money, and then we build the equity. So and we just sit on it, and then as rents go up and those tenants move out and you get new ones,
You
you
decide what
build
to
it
do.
more. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the goal.
Yeah. No, so I have one other question for you in this arena. Because there has been some interesting press on short-term rentals, and as you know, some pressure from some neighborhoods, states, government. So there's been some noise around Airbnbs for a while.
Yes.
If someone is not yet in the game and they want to do it, but they're feeling as if it may not be a wise choice right now because of what I'll call the story that's out right now, what would you say to them?
Think that Airbnb is a completely different beast. And I'm going to be honest, you don't get a lot of support from Airbnb. I'm sorry you don't. Shout out to Airbnb. We've had people have thrown parties. We've had things that have been damaged. You have to send a request to repair. And if they want to accept it, they do an Airbnb. So here's my recommendation. Do your research.
Mhm.
Number one, do not buy an oversaturated market. And how you can find out is by simply just going on Airbnb and typing in a city and typing in a
Right.
weekend and looking how many are available. You will know. There's
Yes, yes,
also an amazing website called AirDNA, like your DNA,
yes.
.co. And for the free version gives you very minimal information and you can pay. Now, the website's smart. They charge you per city, or you can pay for a higher amount for unlimited. And you can look at the average occupancy. You can look at so if you're looking at a property that's like, say your budget is X, and in that neighborhood or that city that would afford you a 3-bedroom, you can look at what 3 bedrooms are averagely renting for. So my advice would be
Right.
do your research. Do not go somewhere oversaturated. Look at the occupancy rate. Look at what the nightly rate is. So look at the nightly rate, the average nightly rate, then the occupancy. So if the
That's
average nightly
right.
rate is
Do the
250,
math.
do the math,
Yeah.
and 60%, so it's booked, 15 at 17 days a month at $250 a night on average. What does that equal? Is your mortgage going to be? So
Right,
do the
right.
math. It's really not that hard, but get a really good insurance policy, get a really good home warranty policy, and have a handyman in place if you can't be there.
Yes.
That's the number one thing because,
You need boots on the ground.
and make the Airbnb as simple as possible. We literally had to take out our Nest thermostats and put in basic thermostats because people could not figure out how to work the Nest thermostats. And they're like, it's not working. I'm like, I literally could see it on my phone. It is. Which is unfortunate for us because when we drive to our Boise house and we get there in the middle of the night, I like to program it an hour before so it's warm when we get there.
Right, right.
It is what it is, but you have to just really and be patient with the process of it.
Mhm.
It can be great, but it's a lot. do your research. It might be, if you're someone who doesn't want to do all that research, you better off maybe finding a realtor who and do a buy and
Yes,
hold, like
that would do it for
long-term
you.
rental.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, if you dig in, you can find agents that are doing it firsthand themselves, and they're gonna have a lot of insight to offer.
Yeah, and so I
Yes.
also do too. So if I have clients who are going to buy out of state, I connect them with agents out of there, and then I
Right.
walk them through and we do an hour call, the programs I use. I also, so all my information is obviously in my, my Instagram bio. I do
Right.
coaching calls one-on-one and people can book with me. And so if anyone ever has questions about it or wants to know how I get clients for it and how I walk my clients through it, or they're curious,
Mhm.
it's all in there. There's a million resources so they can, go ahead and
It's awesome. No matter where you're consuming this or hearing this, links for, Amanda's information will be in the description, so
oh,
they're gonna be
awesome.
able to
Okay,
reach
great.
that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. All the information's,
What is your
there's
Instagram? What's your
it's just my
Instagram handle?
name, Amanda Elhassan. It's just my name.
Okay.
Mhm.
Alright,
Yep.
great.
Yep.
Good.
Yeah.
So, all of that is awesome. Now I'm shifting gears for a minute, so I wanna go back to, you mentioned that as of the moment, you and your husband aren't planning on having any more children. But it does sound like you're both working, you're both business owners. Does your husband own his
No, no, no.
GC or no?
He's a W-2 employee, health insurance, baby.
Okay. All right, excellent. Even better. But you guys are both, you're working together and you are each having your own careers, and you're also building this portfolio.
Mhm.
And it sounds like you're focused on generational wealth for your children
Yeah.
and financial security for the two of you.
Yes, correct.
Tell me a little bit more about why that's important to you. And how do you keep your energy strong and your motivation strong when you face challenges?
Uh, you know, I am like, where do I even unpack this? I grew up in Silicon Valley. I was exposed to a lot of affluent wealth around me. And I knew that if I wanted to keep up with that lifestyle and wanted that lifestyle, that I was going to have to provide that lifestyle. In
Right.
fact, and no disrespect to my husband, when I met my husband and I was madly in love with him, my mom said to me, we love Jimmy. We want him in our family. But if you want the lifestyle that you want, you are going to have to get it. And if you put pressure on that man, you are going to lose your marriage. And
Mhm.
so it's not going to work out. To say that it's just about liking nice things, sure. It's, of course, I like nice things and I want, I saw a lot of things and I knew that I had to work hard. I think that I'm naturally wired like this. I think that having kids made me want to provide for them even more. There's so many layers into it. My husband and I also met, I say later in life, but I was 30 when we met
Mhm.
and I wish we had more time together. And I'm like, well, let's get quicker to retirement so we can enjoy,
That's
that
right.
life on the beach.
Yes. Yeah.
So there's a million motivators there. My husband's job is also physical. He's getting older and he's in construction and he's using heavy machinery and he's in buildings and walls and he's commercial construction. So
Right.
he's under, I don't want him to do that for the rest of his life.
Right.
So there's a million factors that go into it. I mean, we could do a whole separate podcast on my upbringing and this and
Right.
why I want that, but and at the end of the day, if I ever get to a point where I have too much money, I'll donate it and I do a lot of charity work now, but,
Right.
I just rather be secure than not. And
Yes.
I've hit rock bottom. So
Mhm.
I went out on my own and ran away when I was 17, got married at 18, and
Okay.
I'm not to my husband now.
Right.
And it was a very, very toxic, unhealthy relationship. And when that ended, I went running back to my parents and they said, no, you're an adult now and you left when you were 17. And in other words, you made your bed. Now you have to sleep in it. And I had no choice but to fight for myself. And when I started in real estate, trying to own hair salons and keep up, I was $5,000 in credit card debt. I had
Oh,
a
wow. Yeah.
leased car that I could not afford the payment. They were about to literally repo my car, and I was renting a room in an apartment. And so it's really changed my life, and I never want to go back to feeling that way. I never want to go back to feeling like I had to stay in a relationship that was unhealthy
Right.
because I didn't have a choice. And so there's so, again, a whole podcast on many reasons,
Hmm.
but now, and like we were talking about earlier, that I've really built a life by design. I've been really intentional. I've been intentional with investing my money and protecting my money. I sat and listened to podcasts like this, to how to invest. I taught myself. I read books. I have an Audible account. I go to conferences. I mean, I figured it out. And
Yes.
if I can do it, anybody can do it.
That's
You
really
know,
exciting.
you can. So, that's really what it's really about to me. It's not just protecting what I have now. It's never going back to where I once was.
Well, and what's exciting about that, and I hope anyone listening caught it, it's not like your life is perfect and has always been perfect and everything just falls
No.
gently wafting down from the sky on a little cloud and lands in your lap. You've had challenges, you've overcome challenges, you hit rock bottom, you were in that relationship, as you said, was toxic. You got out of that. I'm going to guess that at this stage in life, you're probably grateful that your parents were like, go
Oh,
figure
yeah.
it out.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm going to guess that probably was not easy for them.
No.
And yet I think they knew they were giving you a gift.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Woo. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Right. So,
yes, and I have a great relationship with my parents, but
mhm,
they built they came over here from different countries and
mhm.
they built a life for themselves. And so, yes, at the time I couldn't understand it. I'm
Right.
like, I need help,
Right.
I just got, I mean, it was an abusive relationship that I got out
Mhm.
of, I need help. And they were like, if we help you, we're not helping you.
That's right.
And I realized it pretty quickly. Like, it was a bit of a shock, but I was like, "Okay," and then I figured it out, and those were some of the best years of my life. I mean, my
Right.
20s, living in San Francisco, figuring it out, building my career. I mean, really, truly, you can be the victim in your life, or you can be the hero in your life.
That's right.
And, and even now, I mean, come on, like, you think that, every time I'm like, "I have an idea," my husband's like, "Oh god."
Oh, no.
But,
He's
we
like,
support.
"Hold on, let me put on my helmet and
Yeah,
my,
yeah,
protective gear. Alright, what's the idea?" Yeah.
yeah, I'm always like, "So I was thinking." He's like, "Can you just, like, not think?" So, we support each other, the way we communicate with each other, I protect what and with my relationship, with my team, like, I have a team, and I have an all-women's team, and women can have emotions, and,
Right.
anyone can have emotions, but I won't handle any drama, I won't handle any toxic. We are here to build each other up, we are here to support each other, collaboration over competition always. I protect what I have.
Good.
But I'm also willing to scream it from the mountaintops and share it with anyone. So it's why I get on these podcasts and share my story. I go around and teach in my region. I'm more than happy to book, if someone wants to book coaching call, pick my brain on anything, because I got here by asking the right questions. And so
Right.
I hope that I can share any of that with anyone who needs questions answered, if I can
That's
answer those
fantastic.
questions.
Right.
So, yeah.
I mean, that's really fantastic.
Yeah.
So, speaking of ideas, what's next for Amanda? What
I want to I don't know. I want to buy two more investment properties this year.
Okay, good.
I want to grow my local team of agents and probably at some point hire a director of operations so that I can
Okay.
step back. And I want, and this is not going to be, I don't know if this is going to be an Airbnb, but I want a mountain, like a snow cabin,
Second
because we
home?
love to snowboard, a second home that's just ours.
Yeah.
And my big thing is I'm writing a book this year.
Nice.
Yes, and that is about, and it's called Built in the Chaos, and it's
Okay.
about just starting. You don't have to be perfectly ready to start, and learning through the just going for it, and building through children and setbacks and market shifts. And so it's not about me. It'll reference things I've done, but it's more about how to just push forward through chaotic and stressful and, ups and downs in your life, and just keep pushing forward. So that I've mapped it all out. I have all the chapters I've started, but that's next. That's next.
That is very exciting.
Yes.
Very exciting.
Yeah.
When I hear you describe that and such a great premise for the book, and
Yeah.
it's going to be so beneficial for so many, that makes me think that you must face some challenges at some point, even now in your life.
Yeah. You
So,
know?
could you share if anyone out there is still listening to the two of us and they are either overwhelmed or surrounded by chaos or feeling as if not that something has to give, that everything has already given, right? Like if they're but what's one thing that they could do? What's an action they could take just to nudge themselves one step in a direction away from the chaos?
This is going to sound so woo woo, but give yourself grace. Above
Mhm.
all, give yourself grace and give yourself a moment to pause. If you email back someone the next day and just say, I apologize, the day got away from me, it's not the end of the world. Be honest in that. I'll give an example. Last week, 2 weeks ago, my daughter had whatever flu was going around,
Mhm.
flu A, flu B, whatever it was, horribly sick, 103 fever for 5 days in a row. I had such a busy week. I was teaching 2 classes in our region. I had 2 listings launching that week. I just couldn't. And my husband stayed home. My mom guilt that I felt, even though I knew she was safe at home with my husband,
Right.
and that there's 2 of us and they're his kids too,
Right,
I
right.
I uncontrollably sobbed in the car home one night, like sobbed, like ugly cried in the car
Right.
to myself. And I allowed myself, and I pulled in the driveway to obviously compose myself before I walked in, and then my sick daughter see me sobbing. That wouldn't be good.
Right,
And
right.
I just allowed myself to give myself grace and say, like, this is the life you wanted. And you have a husband inside that home right now, and they're safe. And I'm pulling into the driveway in my dream home. And just like sometimes I feel like we often look at so much of what's not working instead of focusing on what is working. And
Right.
it's really okay to give yourself a moment, take a step back. And I came in that night and I normally look at my computer every single night at some point. And the next morning I woke up and my laptop bag was still sitting on the chair on the entry of my house. And I walked straight into my daughter and I sat with my daughter and I held her and I let her sleep in my bed that night. And I went to bed with her at 7:30 at night. And I allowed myself to be in that moment. And I woke up the next morning and said, it's okay. My business
It's
didn't
okay.
fall apart
That's
because I
right.
didn't open my computer. So
Right.
that would be my biggest advice before you decide. And if you have to, like, obviously something's got to give, but just take a moment. Just take a moment. You don't have to figure it out in the chaotic moment. And that would be my biggest advice for someone who really feels like they're at the brink right now of like
Right.
burnout, you
Yes.
know? Yeah.
I think that's really excellent advice. I think
Thank you.
that is something that is needed. And oftentimes, people that find themselves in that situation are similar to you and I, where they're entrepreneurs, they're mavericks, they're probably pretty independent. They may overestimate what they can do in a certain amount of time and underestimate what they could do in other parts of time. And so, if anyone is listening and they are feeling like, well, this sounds so easy for Bridget and Amanda, good for them, but I am on overload, give yourself that gift, as you
Yeah.
mentioned, of just being gracious with your own self and stopping to have some mental quiet, reflect, and catch your breath,
Yeah, go cry in your closet if you need to, and then
cry in
come
the
out and
closet.
be like, "Well, at least there's Gucci in here." No, I don't know.
Yeah, right. Yeah, just be, yeah, just
Yeah, at
get
least
it
I'm
out,
not
let it
lying.
out.
I'm kidding. But, like, truly give yourself a moment.
Yeah,
And we all feel like that. People who have quote unquote made it and people who are on their way to making it and people who are in rock bottom. Let me tell you something. In every phase in my life, I've cried in my closet.
yes,
So yeah. So, and it's about just allowing yourself to have those feelings and
right.
embrace it. So yeah, and I really think that we are more powerful than we give ourselves credit for. And most of the time
I
people give
agree.
up. People give up when they are right there. When they are on the brink of the breakthrough is when people give up.
Right, because that's usually where the growing pains are the most intense.
Yeah.
That it and they back away,
Yep.
and it was right
Absolutely.
on the other side of the pain or the
Yep.
chaos or yeah. So, Amanda, this has been fantastic. I would love to invite you now to come back as a guest after your book comes out. I would love to
Yes.
do a conversation about your book and share that with everyone. And thank you so much for everything you've shared. If you
Thank you.
happen to be listening to this episode of The Inner Estate, I hope that you'll come back as well and join us for another episode. Amanda, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.